See a red light? I think I'm on the air. I hope so. It can be quite the ditz. Okay. Today, give me a moment here. There we go. My name is Butch. If you were expecting music, there ain't going to be any. I'm just going to yak a bit here. So my name is Butch Terry David Silvercloud. You can search me. Today is November 11th, 2018, here in Vancouver, Canada, where I live. And it's been a bright day. Usually it's a rainy kind of day, but we've had bits of sun. And it's what we would call Remembrance Day here in Canada and in many places around the world. And that's where we remember the soldiers and service people who gave up their lives and have served to protect, in this case, Canada and the Western way of living, I guess. So I'm 74. I served in the Naval Reserves for from the time I was age 16 to almost 19, and then from then, just before I turned 19, until I was 25, 1969. Around 25, I was a naval lieutenant. I was a submariner. I didn't do any active war kind of stuff. So I was really young then, you know. I was like all gung-ho, and this was great fun. Yeah, real submarines, you know. I used to sit on a periscope, you know. That was a lot of my job, was just in the submarine. It was a motorized chair, and you could just go left, go right. Nowadays, they probably have video, but this was back in the 60s. And if the people up there knew how crystal clear they could be seen, they'd be freaked out. Anyhow, so it's Remembrance Day, and in my old age, because I'm not shy, I'm quite reclusive, and I consider the humans to be barbarians, scary things. I'm afraid of the humans. But in my old age, to keep busy, I work on my art, and I'm into theoretical physics, and at the moment, I seem to have accidentally come up with a grand unified theory, finally. It took me a long time to figure out. One day I just realized where electrons fit into the whole thing. These things happen. You're not really, if you're into physics, you just have this idea, and it takes you down a path that wasn't really where you meant to go, and then, oh, right. And then you suddenly go down another path, and so I discovered that, in my opinion, the electron is the platinum rod setter of all things electromagnetic, and including the speed of light. But that's not why I'm here today. It's Remembrance Day. So I'm into physics. And today, after I talk to you, I'm going to go off and do some online research at Math World, because I'm researching certain shapes, because I'm a particle physicist, and I want to know why we're here. And so I'm right down at the fundamental level of dark energy, dark matter level of reality, and what's going on? I want to rip off the face of God, look inside, and see if there's anything inside there. So speaking of God, you should know I'm an atheist, and a militant one at that. So that's sort of what this is all about today, really. So at 11 a.m. here, I had the radio on, so that was I'd seen some services on TV earlier, because I got up early. I'm up at 6 a.m. these days in my old age. And so at 11 a.m. the local station I had on my radio here played The Last Post, and they followed it with John Lennon's Imagine. Imagine is probably one of the best known, best loved songs ever written and recorded. Everybody loves it and sings it, and that's sort of what spurs this video, the the hypocrisy of it all. You know, if you listen to the words of Imagine, the very first thing it does is ditch religion. No heaven, no hell, and no religion too. I agree 100% with that. To me, religion is the epitome of evil. The absolute epitome of evil. And wars come about because of greed. And these days it's going to be fighting over what's left of Earth's dwindling resources. I expect there to be wars. I'm a scientist, and I don't hold up much hope for the world continuing the way it is much longer. I can't foresee the world continuing as it is past the end of this century, because if climate change keeps accelerating at the rate it is, mass migration and starvations will be the order of the day. And that's okay. That's just Mother Nature making a correction, and my prediction is we'll lose 3 or 4 billion people from the population by the turn of the century, and that's a good thing. Earth is grossly overpopulated. Not enough resources for too many greedy people. And we're going to have to be looking at new forms of government, some sort of better worldly agreement, and I don't see that coming in the near future. The world is probably going to be between China, Europe, North America, Africa and South America, and probably even India. They're probably totally screwed just as a result of nothing more than climate change. So getting back to Imagine is, one of the reasons I'm so reclusive is that in my old age I've realized the hypocrisy of human beings. They'll buy the t-shirt, they'll sing the song, they'll even make a small donation here and there, but they won't change their lives. Crime and punishment is all about punishing. Punishment isn't going to fix anything. There are some really nasty people out there, and I totally agree that they should be locked away from general society in some kind of way, either by distance or very high fortified walls. But keeping people in cages is not going to turn a human being into a better human being. But the religious types out there, they're big on punishment. Most religions, Christianity and Islam in particular, is totally based on punishment. Christianity is more about, if you believe in Jesus, then you're good. Somehow you have to die to collect. Excuse me. I can feel my blood pressure going up. And it's probably because I'm getting emotional, and at my age, high blood pressure is not a good thing. So really, being November 11th, and we could go into talking about wars and wars and wars. Wars have been going on forever. World War II is really the result of the greed, the overwhelming greed of the Western Allies to make Germany suffer and pay. And that was sort of the line it was going down about crime and punishment. Where's this forgiveness that's talked about in God is merciful in Islam and the Christians, turning the other cheek? It's all, the Roman Catholics borrowed the Islamic ideas of hell, and people were being burned alive real quick in medieval times. Fear puts people in line really quickly. Religion is all about mind control. And I hate it. Hate it. So on Remembrance Day, you might ask yourself, if you're religious, why? I'm a physicist, so it's easy for me. I can see how totally ludicrous the very idea is. The very idea of creators owning creations forever is just evil, period. You know, even if humans were created by spacemen, the spacemen don't own us. We aren't their slaves. Forget it. You know, you're only going to be around for, I'm 74, and I might make it to 75. I'm not well. I have my problems. That's why I try to keep busy, and you know, like if I don't do this today, tomorrow may not come. So YouTube, as many faults as YouTube has, and I could go on about, I'm a YouTube partner and I won't even get into it's like Big Brother. It's like just, you gotta do it. I don't fight them at all anymore. At least I try to follow the rules and express myself, and if you want to watch me, here you are. So today, and I don't know how long I've ranted on for, but I would like people to think when they hear the song Imagine about the hypocrisy of their own lives if they are singing some sort of anthem which has nothing to do with their personal reality. To truly be into the song Imagine, you have to believe that religion is evil. And, you know, in the Jewish religion there is no heaven or hell. When you're dead, you're kaputted. So, you know, you don't have to be religious to be a good person. And morality is often set by the society around us. You know, slavery in many parts of the world is still normal, and people there think that's just fine. And here in Europe and North America, and even amongst North American Indians who also practice slavery, many of them, you know, that was the social norm. In Islam and in Christianity, both Muhammad and Jesus, I think, tell you should treat your slaves kindly. So it wasn't really a moral issue. Slavery wasn't really a moral issue in the time of Jesus, as best I can tell. But nowadays the idea of burning people alive is considered a bit extreme. But it was pretty common not so long ago. And usually the religious types are behind it. And if you read the Quran, and I've tried my best to get through most of it, it's a pretty horrific book. It's all hell. Burning in hell. One of the things for any of you Muslims out there who think you're a good and proper Muslim, let me remind you what your punishment will be if you're not a true practicing. If you're a pretend Muslim and you're not a real Muslim, and this is what it says in the Quran, this is what your punishment will be. Your friends who got in will lie beside streams with cool breezes, with an endless supply of virgins, while you suffer in hell for some time. It may not be eternity, this one, but you're going to suffer for a long time, and your punishment will be your skin will burn off. You'll be in flames, and you'll completely burn off your skin, which will regrow and burn off and regrow and burn off. That's what your punishment will be, according to the Quran. So, you know, it's not a very friendly book. And the whole idea of hell creeping into Christianity was, hells have been around since before Christianity, so I don't want to go down that path, and I probably yacked on enough, but this is really about Remembrance Day, remembering why wars are horrible, and thanking those who gave up their lives. When I was in the forces, I was just young and naive. I didn't have a clue what the world was about. Now I'm 74 and I understand a lot, and I've had a lot of education and experiences since then. And you know, I'm into science and art. My life, when I was back young, like a teenager, I thought I was going to become a practicing physicist, but that didn't happen, and I ended up becoming a visual artist, basically specializing in photography, very high-end magazine cover kind of photography. But I left that more than 20 years ago, and 20 years ago I went back to looking at physics by reading Einstein's relativity, and I thought, gee, she sure missed a few things. And that got me curious about other things, and before you know it, I was back into physics again, my true love, and trying to understand. Oh, by that time, 20 years ago, I was definitely an atheist. Well, I didn't really believe in God since the time I learned to masturbate, but if there was a God, I thought, well, he's just gonna have to put up with me masturbating, and that's all there is to it, because I ain't stopping. And so I was from a very, very religious family. I went to church and sang in the choir, and it wasn't until I came out when I realized I was a gay person. Now I call myself queer, because I realized even in the spectrum of screaming queen type of gay people to guys in leather, I don't fit in any of those. I'm some very narrow spectrum that leads me to be as reclusive as I am. I don't fit much in anywhere, but I definitely like boys. I have had sexual relationships with several women, but that was when I was young in the Navy, and I was just determined to find out what that was all about, and it was fun. I won't deny it, but I had no interest in the women. I just wanted to get laid, and I did. But once I realized it was boys that I wanted to be with, and that I wasn't the only one in the entire world. Remember, this was back in the 60s. I had no idea what it was about, and I was just very reclusive and somehow socially inept. Took me a long time to figure out what gay was, and I was it. But now I'm 74, and I hate religions, and I love the song Imagine, but the hypocrisy of the humans all around me, saying one thing and doing another, makes me as reclusive as I am. I think I made my point. I don't know if there was a point. There was sort of a point. It was about hypocrisy, but then I drift on and on and on like I'm prone to do. And this is my Remembrance Day message for you. Now I got to go over there because I have to click the stop button on the camera. It's not the camera, it's the computer. And 18 minutes. I could have done worse. I guess I should turn the mouse on. Mouse is activated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye bye from Butch.